Cultural communication conflict across generations, the generation gap. Although they may be unified by the task at hand, each employee approaches the workplace from a unique background, experience level, and with his or her own expectations. Differences between employees can be further categorized by gender, socioeconomic status, education, and age. In order to maintain motivated and productive employees, leaders must provide a working environment that bridges gaps created by these differences. One such gap is known as the generation gap, cultural communication conflict between members of different age groups. Further scrutiny of generational workplace conflicts shows common sources of controversy, including slang, work ethic, technological prowess, and perceptions of proper appearance and polite behavior. As with racial and gender conflicts, generational stereotypes can be pervasive if not examined and unmasked. For the first time in its history, the United States workforce is made up of 5 generations of employees. This creates a span of more than 60 years between the youngest and oldest workers. With such a broad cultural span, it would be foolish to expect all workplace communication to be free of conflict or misunderstanding. Generational misunderstandings are often met with dismissive behaviors on both sides of the generation gap, with one group rolling eyes at the other or blaming age for flawed thinking. Older, antiquated, younger, naive. To understand the potential for conflict better, we must first answer the question, what is a generation? Differentiated into brackets based upon birth year, a generation is commonly thought to be a period of time in which children are born, become adults, and begin to have children of their own, usually a span of about 30 years. However, a generation may be better defined by the technology, politics, and social influences shared among their cohort and unique to their collective experience. Arguably, dynamic changes in any one of these categories, technology, politics, social influences, may differentiate a generation much more clearly than a sum of years. Given a span of 30 years between the beginning and end of a generation, it is important to note that the youngest and the oldest members of a generation may have very little in common with one another. Shoulder groups within each generation may identify with the generation before or the generation after. Dimick reminds us that generations themselves are inherently diverse and complex groups, not simple caricatures. With so many millennials and Generation Xers having been helicoptered by their parents, a serious concern for the future of the American workplace has emerged. Will younger generations have the skills required to solve problems, make tough decisions, and generally cope with workplace frustrations? Now more than ever, leaders must seek out ways to bridge the generational gap. One technique that shows great promise is called reciprocal mentoring. A new version of traditional mentor-mentee roles, reciprocal mentoring pairs workers from different generations to mutually mentor one another. Younger generations assist older generations with technology, while older generations assist younger generations with industry wisdom and institutional memory. The technological differences that divide boomers and millennials have the potential to be complementary if coordinated. Imagine the value of a generational hybrid employee at a major airline, combining old school customer service with cutting-edge technology capabilities. As with every generation that came before, baby boomers and millennials have more in common than sets them apart. A wise leader will focus efforts on these commonalities rather than generational differences.